The British Virgin Islands are an island group in the Caribbean. The territory comprises the main islands of Tortola, Virgin Gorda, Anegada, and Jos van Dyke, along with over 50 other smaller islands and keys. The territory has a population of about 28,000, of whom approximately 23,500 reside on Tortola. These spectacular islands, with their brilliant waters, are known around the world as some of the best tourist destinations on the planet. But these islands are so much more than beautiful beaches. Their diverse topography and mixed vegetation supports a wildlife hotspot, a home for endangered iguanas, red-footed tortoises, and flamingos. And they have a long history. It was here on Great Tobago that in 1493 Christopher Columbus called in as one of his first landfalls on his second expedition to the New World. This was the first attempt by Europeans to colonize the Americas. In the following centuries, waves of settlers reached the Caribbean. Copper was found in the rocks, and miners from Cornwall moved here to build copper mines. Sugar plantations and cruel slavery were brought here to power empire. The ruins of this dark chapter of history still stand. But Columbus was not the first person to reach this land. Amerindians had lived here for hundreds of years. These are the remains of ceremonial ball courts which the Amerindians constructed. And on the island of Anegada, vast middens of queen conch shells that were hunted and eaten by the Amerindians and then thrown away still form massive piles. These are testimony to the presence of hundreds of people living here. The hunting of the conchs has continued over hundreds of years and still occurs today. Fishermen pile the shells together offshore. The conchs are caught in such numbers that some of the drifts form large islands of shells. These ones, caught within the last few years, still have their beautiful shell coloration. The hunting of the conchs continues, and local numbers of the species are thought to be in decline. The numbers simply defy belief. It can be hard to imagine that there are any conchs left in these waters, and conservation measures may be needed to safeguard the stocks of this species for the future. But conchs aren't the only species to suffer from fishing here. Several of the islands are home to vast seabird colonies. Back on Great Tobago, large numbers of magnificent frigate birds come here to nest. Some migrate over vast distances, so these concentrated breeding sites are crucial. But the frigate birds here suffer from a deadly menace. Fishing line. When a frigate bird snatches a fish being reeled in by a fisherman, often the line is cut, and the bird carries the fishing line back to its nest site, where it forms a deadly trap. Hundreds of birds are killed like this each year. But local conservationists regularly visit the nest trees and clear the deadly fishing line and free any frigate birds that they find caught. The National Parks Trust of the Virgin Islands and the Jos van Dyke Preservation Society undertook a joint project to satellite tag frigate birds to track where they travel to. It's hoped that with a better understanding of the movement of these majestic birds, the deadly problem of the fishing line may be tackled more effectively. On the main islands, the wildlife has faced intense pressure from humanity as well. Surprisingly, much of this green landscape was once intensively farmed for cotton and sugarcane. But these slopes are now in the process of recovering and regenerating, and rare an ecologically valuable tropical dry forest is regrowing once more. The importance of this habitat was recognised decades ago. In the 1960s, the philanthropist Lawrence Rockefeller funded the establishment of the first national park, which was set up with local Joseph Reynolds O'Neill. Further private islands have also been set up as nature reserves. This is Guano Island, established by Dr. Henry Jarecki. Low-impact development has been combined with conserving natural habitats, and Guano Island is now a haven for wildlife. Flamingos that had been hunted to extinction across the British Virgin Islands were reintroduced, and a flourishing flock survives here again. Populations of the red-footed tortoise have also been restored, as well as the white-crowned pigeon and the exquisitely coloured bridled quail dove. The forests of Guano Island are also home to an important population of translocated Anegada rock iguanas. This species once occurred on many of the British Virgin Islands and other islands nearby, but this unique iguana was wiped out across its entire range, except for on Anegada. A few specimens were captured and translocated to Guano Island, and the population there is now expanding, serving as a backup to the base population that still lives on Anegada. The government and the National Parks Trust have also set up many important preserves to safeguard endangered species, such as ambitious projects to replant the once extensive mangrove forests that surrounded much of the island's coasts. These important conservation efforts are crucial because the British Virgin Islands are developing faster than ever before, and with greater numbers of tourists visiting. Meanwhile, the local conservationists are working hard to understand the biodiversity of the British Virgin Islands, to ensure the needs of people and wildlife can be balanced. So this island group can remain both one of the world's premier tourist destinations and a hotspot for wildlife long into the world of tomorrow. The Britain's Treasure Islands book explores the unique wildlife, cultures and history of all of the UK overseas territories. Visit britain.treasureislands.com for details. In sincere thanks to Lord Ashcroft for funding the donation of one copy of the Britain's Treasure Islands book to every secondary school across the UK and her overseas territories. Thanks also to all Kickstarter backers and all sponsors and partners for making the 40 mini-documentaries possible.